Oscar, your first line was called Vintage Zionist.
Yes.
Why
I
the
remember
name?
that. Yeah, I mean, like, that's how I introduced myself into the industry as Vintage Zionist. Have rebranded since. Well, not rebranded, changed the name of the brand. Still the same aesthetic. Still the same spirit. And just changed the name.
Yeah. And then the line is now called Dry Bone and
Yes.
Co. Or just Dry Bone
Dry
Co.
Bone and Co.
Yeah.
I had to put in the Co for trademark reasons. But I like it.
Yeah.
Dry Bone and Co.
And why the change?
No, sorry, it's not Dry Bone and Co. It's
Dry
Dry Bone
Bone
Co. Yeah. I just put the and Co because I created a band, a rock band
Yeah.
within my brand called Dry Bone and Co, like a company.
Okay. And why the change?
From Vintage Zionist. I think that name, Zionist, gave us a lot of issues. Politically, people have strong feelings about that name, and affiliated to, maybe like the radical Jewish community. Which is sort of like a very touchy subject in today's political climate. So, it was just, obviously I didn't mean it that way. Zionist has a lot of other connotations and meanings to it that include Africa and blackness and, and Christianity too, not just Judaism. But it was just too much trouble to keep over intellectualizing, explaining to people. And big companies and organizations don't want to work with you because they don't want to deal with the PR madness that can emanate from the word Zionist. So I just changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys, your intellectual explanation was actually good. How did you guys explain the Vintage Zionist and linking it to the brand?
Zionist is the word, the sort of like original connotations of the word comes from from a rebirth, old life into new life, like almost like a recreation, not really sort of what is it called? Reincarnation?
Yeah.
Not that, because you're in the same life, you're not in another life, you're in the same life, and then you just give a new purpose within the same life. So that's where the Zionist came in for me. So Vintage Zionist, so it kind of like made sense. And I must admit, I'm very spiritual, so I like things that have depth. I love words that mean a lot of like deep meaning to a lot of people, so that you can like take it any way you want. So you don't have to be, say, Jewish or Christian to connect with the word Zionist.
Yeah.
You can be Pan-African, you can be Rasta, to connect with our word.
Yeah.
So I kind of like to use it in clothing and make it mean what I want it to mean. And it can mean whatever you want it to mean.
Yeah, and which made sense because your unique selling point with your clothing line is that you repurpose stuff. It has always been, and it still is, with now an addition of making new stuff from scratch.
Yes. Yeah, so it's always been about, responsible fashion, and I'm not going to be on my high horse and say, I'm trying to save the planet or do my bit to save the planet. It's just, with Africans or people in third world countries or people who come out from lack of means, it's always like a way it's like a DIY punk thing. Like, I want that thing, I can't afford it, how else can I have it without actually, And another way you can do it is actually do it yourself with stuff that's existing. So it's like a no waste culture. That no waste culture for us comes from, you don't have the means to waste. So I must admit, when I started, that was my mindset. It wasn't like being responsible fashion and like eco fashion and all that. It was just a means to an end. What can I do, since I love vintage shopping, what can I do to actually give this experience to more than one person, so that they can find, I hate the fact that if someone buys something vintage, you won't find it anywhere else. Even if you love it and you're like, oh my God, I love that suit. Where did you get it? Oh, it's vintage. That's it. So I like to create a range of clothing based on vintage. So there's a reference point for someone to actually come and buy it. The same vintage item that they saw you wearing.
Yeah.
They can come and buy it.
And then what is the process for the making of your clothing?
Okay, so for example, if you buy a vintage denim jacket, right? And somebody loves it, there's no way they can actually find it again. It's yours, it's one piece, it's unique to you. Right? So I wanted to inject the retail business into that process. So I would get, for example, I would thrift. This is when I started. I would thrift like 5 of these or 10 of these that have the same shade. If they don't have the same shade, I'll either bleach or dye so that they can all have the same shade. Then I'll remove the collars. Then I'll put a leather collar or a suede collar or a corduroy collar on all of them to tie them all together. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it might be a Lee denim jacket and a Levi's denim jacket and a Kappa denim jacket, but they kind of all look the same, and they've all been treated to look the same, and they've all been styled to look the same. And then that's my vintage denim jacket range. So that's how I sort of started with the idea. Same with the leather, taking a whole bunch of leather pants, old pants from the 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Opening them up and then cutting new styles of the same cut, same silhouette, new styles off of vintage material. And then you get like a whole size curve that can be replenished, but that's still vintage.
Yeah. And then it's, did you find that, was there like a consumer education in terms of what you were doing? Did they know the process when they're purchasing? Or it was like, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna buy it, without that engagement?
In the beginning, I didn't really think much of the storytelling of the brand and everything. And also, I did not want to appear as a brand that is doing what it's doing because of a conscious. I just wanted you to like the clothes and buy the clothes. That was my selling proposition. This is just unique, cool, rock and roll, edgy clothing. So there wasn't any storytelling behind it. It's only later that, through my affiliation with fashion weeks and PR people, that they started saying, no, you actually need to tell the story of how you're making this thing. It's quite interesting. And then that's when I started trying to formulate a way to package the story. I started creating labels on the garments that had a little story about how the garment was made. And more and more, I got more interest from people who were actually interested in you get people who actually have strong stance on leather and vowing never to wear leather ever again because of the misuse of animals or whatnot. So they started buying my jackets because of the unique selling proposition of the fact that it's actually clothing that has existed. So it's like a circle of life. So it's almost like we're not taking ourselves out of the conversation of leather wear and leather garments. We're just saying, let's just do it more responsibly. What has been discarded can be reused. And in a sense, that solves the problem that fashion has, which is overproduction.
Yeah. Then there was Vintage Zionist, then it rebirthed into Dry Bone Co.
Yes.
And you said that you have an affinity to the deep meaning or the deep meaning of words, or like the emotions, connotation, denotations that words can't evoke from a person. What's in the name for Dry Bone?
Dry Bone. Okay, so Dry Bone is interesting. First of all, most importantly, the word and the name has to sound cool, because I'm just essentially, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy who's trying to make cool clothes. I'm not, that's all. I'm just trying to make cool clothing. So my name, the name of the brand, has to sound cool. So Dry Bone was a name that kind of sounded cool to me, and it ticked other boxes. Like, for example, the name, self-explanatory, a dry bone. A dry bone. So you think of skulls, you think of fossils, you think of something that's dead. And like, if you think of it, a bone, that's dry. Like, there's no coming back from that. I mean, you're gone. Like, that's. I feel like that's the ultimate symbol of death. Do you know what I mean? So,
so somebody calling you a dry bone is the worst thing.
That's the worst thing. I mean, it'll be better if you still had a little bit of flesh, just like
you
on the
dry bone.
It's just that's you gone. So the idea of a bone that's dry.
Of dry bone. That's my new insult. You sack of old dry bones.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, then they'll be really useless. Yeah, but the idea is that even in your being that useless, there's still use for you. And a bone that's dry can still be used post whatever life it lived before it died and dried out. So that's why I love skulls, I love bones, I love decoratively. Just use them as decorative elements. In rooms, on tables, so it just kind of preaches the fact that it still has use past this previous life. And then that sort of like little story is translated in the way I work. Okay, so injecting a little story there. The symbol is a vulture. The symbol of the brand is a vulture, like the skull head of a vulture. So that ties in the sense that, first of all, a vulture is a cool-looking bird, very important.
Cool.
It has to be cool.
Okay.
A cool-looking bird. I mean, if you look at a vulture, you think rock and roll, I think.
I think it's grotesque, but also grotesque can be cool, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, because, it's like the punk kids. You think like, oh my God, when last did you shower? But he doesn't care, because he's carrying himself in a way like, yeah, so what? I mean,
it's the attitude.
I'm wearing the same old stuff. I've been wearing the same old stuff for the whole year. But it's cool.
Yeah.
So the vulture, a vulture doesn't kill for its meat, right? It waits for the thing to die and then partakes. So that's sort of like the circle of life. A responsible carnivorous animal, bird, and I feel like that's how we work. We're responsible in the sense that we wait for, not for you to die, or in a sense, because most of those vintage thrifted items are from dead people.
Yeah, from dead people.
So we wait for you to throw away your garments at the end of its life with you, and then we pounce like a vulture, or hyena, and use it only when you throw it away. So we don't go to the beginning of, like we don't use brand new leather for the most part to create the new garments, the jackets that they're all from old leather. So it's like the same idea of how a vulture lives. That's how we live. And the dry bone speaks to that. It speaks to, first of all, squeezing the use out of the item, and then repurposing it after you've squeezed, like pass it on to the next person to do the thing on it so that it can have another life.
Getting to the meat potatoes of this conversation. So you started Vintage Zionist by yourself, then you got a partnership with Mandy Newman in it, and you ran the brand for how long?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
It's all a blur.
It's all a blur. Okay.
Maybe it was about 3-4 years.
Together?
I think so.
Really?
Maybe
Was it
3,
that long?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you ran the company together, and then was she still there when you rebirthed into Dry Bone Co?
No.
No. Then she left.
Yes.
Vintage Zionist. Then you started Dry Bone
Yes.
Co. How was then you started the well, you initially started the business on your own. You got a partner.
Yes.
Then you rebirthed. Then you started the new company, just rebranded with a new name.
Yeah.
And then how was the relationship working by yourself as opposed to have been working with a business partner?
It was more, obviously it's more difficult because now well, I did work on my own in the beginning with Vintage Zionist, so I kind of had a sense of how it's like to be on your own. And by the way, before all this Vintage Zionist, I did have a fashion career before, back in Zimbabwe, where I'm from. I did have a brand there. I did do the thing also. I just came to South Africa to sort of like start over and do it in a more fashion forward sort of like country.
Fertile soil.
Yeah. So, you get economic refugees. I was a fashion refugee. So, I had a sense of how to, yeah, because I got quite a good left and right brain, so I know how to run business and creative at the same time. But it was obviously, after she left, it was obviously it was a bit more difficult. But I quickly adapted because I'm adaptable to any situation. And I also found it was a bit better for me because I make decisions quicker. I make mistakes quicker. It's really important to make mistakes quickly.
And it's expensive.
Yeah, and readjust and learn, I just feel more focused because everything's filtering through one brain. And obviously you can only take that so far alone. But it has been nice to sort of like regain or reclaim my creative process and my messaging and just my direction or how I want things to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you said that you can only take doing a business or things alone so far. Does that mean that you're looking into another partnership? Is something that you would
My ambitions are so big. Like, it scares me sometimes. Actually, just this morning I was showering thinking how far behind I am to what, like, I was like actually showering going, oh my God, you're so full of shit. How are you going to take over the world in the next 5 years? Still here, So I'm just like, so I'm thinking in my head, I need to start to, I am thinking outside the box, but I need to now immediately make connections because my ambitions are international. I want to have an African brand that sits in the same conversation with G-Star, Diesel, Scotch and Soda, in terms of its mass market appeal, but very strong niche messaging and good almost like mid-level luxury contemporary product range. So like there's no brand like that from Africa.
No, there isn't any export brand from Africa that is competing globally. But in any case, it's other big conversation for another day. But do you think then, in your plan, do you think that you can do that in terms of your business structuring by yourself or with a partner, or are you more looking for an investor, like cash injection, people who can invest in your business?
How I'm thinking of things right now, I think the most important thing is to split your business, just from experience. I've just seen that the best thing is to split your business into maybe like 2 or 3 categories. Have an online partner, have a sort of like distribution partner, and have a manufacturing partner.
And in terms of ownership?
So each of those partners will probably own the rights to your manufacturing.
An entity? Are you giving them a percentage?
So basically what happens is if someone owns your right to your manufacturing, you sort of have to, when you grow, the more you grow, you have no option but to manufacture with them. So it's almost like a contract that you get in with the manufacturer that ties you to them. So you don't, now when you become successful and your distribution grows, and now you also need more manufacturing options, you can't just start looking elsewhere without giving them the business first.
So it's like a licensing deal. Like
yes, exactly.
If you want to start a beauty line, you go somebody else who does a beauty line.
Exactly.
I think Ray-Ban and like Saktika.
Yes.
Or how they do it, like they
that's probably the best word for that part of the deal. A licensing with the manufacturer, and then with production. I mean, because you want smart money. You don't just want to get an investor who has a bunch of money, and then half of that money is just spent learning and consulting and making mistakes, and you know what I mean, and they already have a chunk of your business. So you want smart money in the sense that you want a partner who's in distribution already, who has got stores, or who knows how to open a store, and who knows all the logistics. Oh, what? Are you not recording? Oh, yours.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter. Let's go on.
Okay, so you want a distribution partner who knows the game of distribution, who knows how to get your product from the manufacturer to the customer, and who's probably opened stores before, clothing stores, who knows the game, who knows, who's got relationships with real estate, who can negotiate a lease, you know. So that's important for distribution. And then for example, in online, you've got people who I feel like you need online partners, people who actually know the digital game and know how to translate, who've got who know how to translate your product onto an online platform, and also have that distribution network, the shipping and everything, the handling, whether it's from a warehouse or straight from the manufacturer, who know how to work that. So I just feel like you need to separate your business that way so that you can get people with the know-how.
Yeah, okay. In a nutshell, just when you get into businesses or business partnerships, partner with people who've been doing it for a certain amount of years, who know what they're doing. Don't partner with somebody you're just starting off and you guys trying to figure it out, because it's just going to take you a longer time to get there.
Exactly.
You mentioned that you had a thing going on in fashion in Zimbabwe. Did you go to fashion school?
No.
No.
Nothing. Yeah, school. Yeah, I got nothing for you there, man. I got nothing.
Did you go to graduate school?
What is that?
Like, you finished matric, grade 12, you went to university
Well,
to study something?
Matric, okay, fine. In Zim, we call it Form 4 for
yeah.
O level.
Semantics, Form 4
Right.
in any other, it's matric, graduation, grade 12, 12 years in school.
Yeah, listen, man, I don't test well. You know.
So you finished your
Let's talk about the education system for a while.
Well, yeah, we all like you preaching to the convert. We know that conversation, but I'm just trying to understand that. Did you do 12 years of schooling and maybe go to study a diploma, a degree, a master's, a PhD, or you came out of 12 years of school from 4 and you just started
12
doing
years
your
a
own
slave.
thing?
You know that movie, 12 Years a Slave?
I did. I know, and you know that Lupita Nyong'o won. It's the first Black African to have won an Oscar.
Wow.
Out of that, yeah.
Wow.
You have to specify Black
Wow.
because there are other Africans who are
Yeah,
not
yeah,
Black
yeah.
who has won,
Yes,
like
yes.
Charlize Theron.
Yes.
But in any case, you still need to tell me about Zimbabwe or tell me at least how did you start? Is fashion something that you're always into? Did you pick it up from home? Was it an interest?
Let me see. I think my mom got me into fashion, like the actual making of garments and stuff like that.
The making of garments is actually not fashion.
Okay.
It's more production, manufacturing, clothing, textile.
Okay. But if
Fashion is a smoke and mirrors that sells that.
okay.
So was your mom, did she make clothes? Does she make clothes?
No, she doesn't.
How did she get, she was just well-dressed woman who loves beautiful clothes and beautiful things.
So, I've always been, thank you for exposing my lack of fashion education.
No, it's not. It's not that. Why are you thinking about that? We passed that.
In case y'all think you was lying about not having fashion education, there you go. Proof. So my mom, short story. She used to pick me up from school.
Long story long, yeah.
Pick me up from school. I had very good sketching, drawing abilities. Very good in art. Picked me up from school, and she knew that. Picked me up from school, took me to her friends, little rich friends, who used to love how she dressed because she always had her outfits made for her, right? And then I would have to sit there and sketch the idea the lady has of something that she wants done, which my mom couldn't do. She couldn't sketch. So I would take that to the tailor, pick out the fabric, take that to the tailor and get the garment made, and then I would explain based on the sketch how the lady who ordered the garment wanted it. So I had the ability to translate a drawing.
No, the ability to translate thought
onto a drawing and then retranslate it again into the tailor so that she can make the pattern.
Oh, Oscar.
Yeah.
Little Oscar was doing all of these things. How incredible.
So I was
How old were
being
you?
used as child labor. I ain't got nothing, no cent from all that.
I don't think it's child labor. Had it been any otherwise, you would have said, oh, I wasn't nurtured. Your actually talent and skill was nurtured.
That's nice, because it was actually a bit of fashion education.
Yeah,
sort of.
It was nurtured from an early age.
So I did that for a while with her, hey?
But was she making all these clothes for other women?
Yeah, for other women.
Okay.
But she didn't, I think I got the sense from her that you can actually do this without actually knowing how to sew, because she did know how to sew, but she didn't do the sewing. She just had the client, went to the fabric store, I did the sketch goes to the tailor with the fabric, and then we make the garment, you deliver it to the client.
So you guys
So
are running proper fashion
I saw that
business.
ring, that ring happening, you know. And then one day I was like, I had equivalent to a matric dance coming up, and
How would you call it in Form 4?
a leavers party
Okay.
or a leavers dance. I think a leavers dance, or leavers party.
Who's
Something like
lever?
a lever, like a
Who's
lever,
a
like you're
leaver?
leaving school.
Oh, that was the name of the school.
No, the act of leaving school after you've passed the exam.
A leavers party.
Yeah, a leavers party, leavers dance or leavers party.
But a title, A space leavers.
No, lever.
One
okay.
word.
It's called leavers party, a leavers dance.
Who's lever? Oh, they leaving.
Yeah, we're leaving.
Okay.
We're leaving school, so like a whole party to
I mean,
commute.
why is them trying to make things so complex?
Oxford education. What do you want? Yeah, so I had one of those coming up, and I was always picky about how I dress and what I want to wear and stuff like that. And I just put two and two together, like, wait a minute.
I can do this.
You know what I mean? Like, I've been making outfits for all these women. Why not myself? You know? So I started the process, designing an outfit. It was a shirt and pants, actually. I didn't want a suit or anything like that. It's shirt and pants. So I designed my pants, I designed my shirt, and bought the fabric, took it to the tailor, and had it made. That shirt, I don't know if you remember, there was an era where a nice smart shirt with frills was like a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember it.
You remember that
Yeah.
the era, like the frills, but you could never. We always saw those shirts on TV, on musicians and stuff like that. You'd never find them in Zim.
Yeah.
I made one for myself with the frills and a pair of maroon pants with like upholstery fabric, like Rexine leathery fabric. Very uncomfortable, but looked so good.
Yeah.
And they were like skinny cut, you know, which was quite different back then. So I made myself an outfit from that. Oh my God, the compliments I got from that shirt. And remember, I'm leaving school. And I just made an outfit for myself that killed the leavers dance, the matric dance. Killed it. And I made it myself.
Then you were the star. Then the star was born.
And I was leaving school with no qualifications for anything. No academic,
like, fuck the education
no
system.
academic prospect.
Great clothes.
So yeah, I mean, like, it just seemed like a natural progression for me to continue with this thing because I knew the fabric stores. I could sketch.
You had a supportive mother.
Yeah, the mom who loved me going into this kind of thing.
You had a mom who knew rich friends who loved nice
Exactly,
clothes.
and who had like rich children and daughters who go to private schools who also need to go for leavers dances and leavers parties. So I guess that's where I started actually.
The birth of all the rebirth that will happen and has happened in your fashion line. And how long did you stay in Zim after Form 4 before you came to South Africa on a fashion refugee?
A fashion refugee visa. Oh my God. What is that question again, by the way?
How long did you stay in Zim?
Man, I think it was about 5 years after that I actually, from that I established a brand.
What was it called?
Zionist.
In Zim.
Yeah.
And when you got to Joburg,
No, sorry, that was later. I always change brand names. That was later. Zionist was later. Later when? Later in Zim still.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the first one?
The first one, I'm actually trying to think it was 5 OG.
Was that a rip on 501?
No, for 5 OG, but 5 in Roman numerals.
And what did the G stand for?
Oh my
OG
God, I don't
stand
remember.
For? It
OG.
sounds cool.
OG, I think OG is for
school.
original. No, yeah, it's for original. OG, like
Yeah,
some OG
yes,
and
OG.
original. Yes. 5 for original, but why 5?
Because I think subconsciously you were biting 501 Levi's.
Maybe.
Which are your OGs of the Levi's
You know
product category offering?
what? You know what? I'm going to use that explanation from now onwards.
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, because nothing comes from nothing.
Yeah.
And
And I
you
did do a lot of
501 then.
vintage shopping then. So a lot of 501s and yeah. So I did that for a while. I did a lot of dresses, metric dance dresses. I guess that's how most people start, especially if you don't have a fashion education. They do dresses
Even if you have. That's where the money's at.
I
The
did a
shiny
lot of
suits
that.
and
Oh
the
my God. I mean, like.
ballooning dresses and
But the way
tuck-
I did it was so different because no one was doing it that way. In Zim, fashion industry was not non-existent, but it didn't exist in that way in the sense that you can actually sell a sketch. Because I was so good at drawing. I drew like the most beautiful, I designed the most beautiful dresses. I have like, and I'll file them, and I'll have my brother take me to like private schools, at boarding houses, like especially the all girls, it has been all girls school, with a boarding house, and would make an appointment with the matron and the head girl or whatever, and I'll show her my sketches and like, could you please organize some sort of meeting with the boarding in your boarding school on a Saturday or something when there's downtime for the girls, where I come and present my designs. Because remember those girls, like especially in those private schools, the convent kind of private schools, they're locked in. They're locked in there.
So the most exciting thing they'll see sketch dresses.
No.
Oh, there were more exciting things.
No. Jeez. Mine's in the gutter. They don't have time to go and make the dresses and outfits. Do you know what I mean? Like the day scholars would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they would appreciate someone who can actually do everything for them and come to them for the consultation, come to them for the fitting and everything, you know what I mean?
Your business offering had a lot of value.
Exactly. And my drawings were really good, you know?
What happened to those sketches?
Man, I don't know. But I still have a couple of sketches from my second phase when I started creating a brand.
Vintage.
Yeah, from Zionist. When I started creating a brand.
Wait, because there's a lot now. The convent situation, business value offering, that was 5 OG. The sketches, you don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Then you had a Zionist.
Yes. That was when I was now creating a brand, not really doing personal orders or meeting people's needs on a personal basis, just creating a collection, designing a collection, retailing a collection. That was when I rebranded to Zionist.
How long were you? But you say you don't know how many years in Zim were you doing
Maybe I was
this for?
like 21, 22.
Yeah.
Because I came out of school 18, 19 started working. I actually remember my dad and my mom, I was like, my birthday's coming up, in the car, back seat. Like, oh, what do you want for your birthday?
A sewing machine.
Do you know what I asked for?
No.
It's so weird. No ways.
Did you have a sewing machine?
I can't sew.
Oh, you can't. Oh, yeah, you just say you sketch.
Do you know what I asked for?
A notebook and a pencil?
No. I asked for 3 months rent at a studio.
Wow. Okay.
And office space, 3 months rent paid off.
Ballsy.
That's what I asked for.
And
I got that. And every time my birthday would come up, I would ask for money, and my dad would like, no, don't give him money. Because all you just do is buy fabric.
but you were making money.
Yeah, I was making money.
So you never
know?
had like that tough relationship with your parents like most people do, where they actually don't see the value or like there's money in fashion. They
Yeah.
always knew. So you started off
My parents had
at
friends.
the right foot.
My parents had a couple close friends who were in the fashion business, so they kind of could see where it could go. You know, who were but obviously they were doing like uniforms and corporate wear, so they could see where this thing could go, you know. But I think I manipulated my academic situation so much. The reason I say I manipulated because I checked out. It's not like I'm not intelligent. I just checked out. I'm like, this is not for me.
What did they wish for you when you finished matric?
They didn't wish anything for me. But what I'm saying is,
because they knew you're an artist and you
yeah, they knew that they knew
clothes.
that I didn't. You know, I was that kind of person who doesn't. I don't give you any options. This is what's going to happen. And I take away all the other options, because the reason why parents still want you to do something else outside creativity and more academic is because you've shown that you've got that academic prowess and you've got good marks, and you know what I mean. You don't waste that. Like, what were they going to do with me? Like, oh well, look at his report card. Right? Well, I guess he's got a. Well, at least his. At least he can draw.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that you were. I don't even want to say fortunate or whatever. You just had good parents who, not that they believed in you and some others don't believe in other people, but they were more flexible in terms of, because some parents will say, okay, go to medical school or go to law school, do this degree, and after you've done it, then you can work and maybe some will straight up will tell you, I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay you to go to law school, finish that, work for yourself for 2 years or 3 years, then find yourself for a second degree or whatever degree that you want to pursue.
Yes. I guess that was perfect. My dad is an entrepreneur. He runs his own business, did his own thing, successful at that. My mom loved making clothes, loved the creative process. Always wanted a girl. She got 3 boys. So I guess she found me.
Yeah.
Like,
so it was a bit of a fantasy.
Like, oh my God, that's my girl.
Yeah. Oscar, what is the succession plan for your business?
I think I'd like to. I'm a creative director. I'm not a fashion designer. So I'm somebody who likes to invoke a world and curate a world and a lifestyle. So I really plan on being the kind of brand that has designers in-house. I do want to sell this brand one day. There's an entrepreneur in me that I think I got that from my dad. So everything that I want to do going forward, I needed to be able to live outside me, so that it can have value within it without my direct day-to-day involvement. So I want to build a brand like that at the end of the day I can sell.
So you would say that
that's a succession plan. I mean, like, I wanted to live after me, and I wanted to live after me and live outside me, because, like I said, I'm a creative director. I'm a creative, so I love furniture. I love architecture. I want to get into remodeling houses and real estate one day. Creating. I want to also create experiences. I want to go into set design. But this is what I'm doing now, and I need this to be successful so I can fund the rest of my dreams.
And do you think that you ever go into art, selling art, your art,
definitely,
as a fine artist, visual artist?
I mean, I'm working in Victoria Yards right now, surrounded with so much amazing, accomplished artists that I've collaborated with, and it's amazing how they see my work as art too, because they've got that eye that looks beyond just face value silhouettes, and deep thinkers, and that also has helped me to have that sense also, and try and create pieces that are sort of collectible, and that can sit in the realm of art. So yes, fashion is like they say, it's wearable art, right?
I was going to ask if you consider fashion a form of art, or it's just pure economics, commerce for you as a definition.
It's not pure economics. If it was pure economics, then like we don't need more clothes. We don't need. I could bet you that if you buy nothing ever for the rest of your life, and I don't care if you live to 100, you still won't run out of clothes.
Are you running out of clothes because you're getting handouts, or are you running out of clothes because you're buying a shirt for R1? I suppose that's still buying. Yeah.
What I'm saying is what you have right now. If you don't buy.
Oh yes, me absolutely, but for somebody else.
Even anybody else, I don't care who you are. If you don't buy a single piece of clothing from now till you die, and let's assume you live another 50 years, you'll be fine.
I think that is debatable. Well, depending on who you are. There are people who have like 3 pairs of pants.
Oh, don't be nitpicky about my sentiments.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the overarching theme of what I'm saying is that we don't need more stuff.
True.
And but why do we buy more stuff? It's because of the artistic value and the artistic value in which the industry translates itself to you and triggers the need in you to buy something that makes you feel a certain way and makes you feel better about yourself. And so we're always chasing that feeling and that need. And I think the act of getting humans to feel that way is an art form. And it's an art form, and also
it's manipulation.
Manipulation is also an art form.
True.
But you can manipulate people to
feel the need that they want, or you playing on people's insecurities.
Where you're feeling insecurity, yes. But what I'm saying is that, like, if you dig deep into everything, there's bad somewhere. If you dig deep enough into anything, there is bad somewhere. But I guess, how do you feel the need for personal satisfaction and personal achievement and be a capitalist at the same time without literally killing people or like doing really bad stuff? I mean, there's a fine balance. So even art itself, do you really need it? Do you really need to spend like $1 million on a painting?
If you got dirty money, you want to get it back into the system, yes.
Do you really need it? I mean, but why do you need it?
Because of how it makes you feel as a person.
Exactly. So that's the same psychology that fashion has on people. Same. So it is still art in how I feel like. So
the selling of it is an art form, but
yeah.
The physical itness.
Yes.
It's not.
Well, it's not. But it's not. But you can make it in a way that's rarefied and that's
evokes the feelings of it
exactly.
Is art. You can categorize it, position it as art.
Yeah, especially if you infuse the human spirit and actually the human work and the human work ethic. So the human craftsmanship, which is becoming more rare, and the more rare something is, the more it actually becomes art, and the more it becomes appreciated, and the more people want it. The lesser there is, and if the lesser there is of it, the more value it becomes. So fashion is an art, I think.
Some of it, a minute percentage of it is, of how it's positioned, of its rareness, scarcity, how it's really developed, what's being used in it. Is it only once off, 3 off? Then it becomes a prized possession, a piece.
Listen, I don't mean to debate with you right now, but any stage of fashion can be an art, whether it's mass or rare. Once off or 1 million at the same time.
Yeah, Oscar.
Imagine this, right?
I don't want to be naming names.
If I was a street fashion designer, and I'm like, my art is dressing at the same time, in one moment in the world, I want 1 million people to be wearing my white t-shirt. And every one of them is going to be asked to take a picture of themselves and post it.
Yeah, but that's positioning.
And we break the internet. I've just made 1 million shirts that are the same at low, cheap cost, but I've created an art form from that in the same way. And then I get 20 million bucks out of it. In the same way, I can make one t-shirt that's rare, that's been weaved in the mountains of the Himalayas, and that has been forged, that has been hand washed and forged in the Dead Sea, and and I sell it for 20 million. We both made the same money, but our art forms were different. Still art.
I'm not buying the
million
first product,
shirts,
mass-produced photograph. I'll buy the Himalaya one, blah, blah. Do you hear that Rick Owens was making this piece? Like, I don't know what it was. I could be completely wrong, or it could have been
Rick
like
Owens.
a made-up story, but it sounded really cool that he was making like a t-shirt or something that he's been peeing on it for like years. Like he's peeing on this thing to like discolor it.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. to like distress it from the acid.
Wow.
I mean, isn't it good?
How much is that gonna sell for?
I don't know if it's a made up story.
It's Rick Owens.
But it's a cool story.
Zion.
I like it. Zion is Oscar's.
Come.
It's gonna start scratching the door. Get the freaks out of here.
That is amazing. I'm gonna look at that story.
Yeah, I don't know where I read it. I don't know if it's something that was made up in my head, but I love it.
Rick Owens is an artist.
I love. Michelle Lamy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Michelle Lamy.
Michelle Lamy. She's also in
Zion, stop it.
Obsessed. Yeah.
Zion, stop it. Sit. Stay. Sorry.
Oscar, what do you wish for your business?
I wish for what I wish, like economically.
Your wish is your wish. I can't even input
I wish for my business. I wish to have a business that will position Africans as the creative design hub of the business, not the manufacturing hub of the business. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's because it's always the inverse. Like, oh, proudly made in South Africa by brilliant craftsmen and women. I just want to, like, why do we have to have the butt end of stuff? I want to inverse it. I want the creative hub to be here, the design and creative hub to be here. I want the manufacturing to be international. Everything should be made where it's best made internationally. So in a sense, I am a globalist, because I believe that an African brand deserves to be curated internationally too. But the think tank be in Africa, because that's where the ideas and the propaganda of the brand can, and the financial power of the brand can be harnessed. Do you know what I mean? So
the insights and the nuance.
Yes, right?
So
and the decision making that affects international scape should be in Africa, but the skills and the curation and the fabrics should be done and made wherever it is best in the world. Yeah, so I'm not one of those people who thinks, who wants to take away from, don't get me wrong, if a certain part of the craft is best done in South Africa,
then that's where it'll be
that's
done.
where it's be done. But if the best denim is in Japan, well, we're going to get it from Japan. You know, if the best tailoring is done in Italy, that's where we're going to do the tailoring.
Yeah, and also
the best leather work is done in Italy, that's where we're going to do the leather work. If the best tweeds and whatnot.
Okay, we get the point, Oscar. Where it's best made with the best practices, where people are treated best as well. For those, that's it, out of the way.
Exactly.
It's not because we want it there because people are exploited. No.
Yeah.
People should be, it must be a good ecosystem.
Exactly.
And what's not, less issues, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All the nuances taken care of. What we didn't touch on is the fact that there's a very strong sense with your brand with rock and roll, subculture, different kind of like subcultures of different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Can you speak on it?
Yeah, man. Jimi Hendrix, man. Well, yeah. So, yeah, music and rock and roll, music and fashion. You see the look.
You hear the sound.
You think of the sound. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just where I come from in terms of like how I think about things. So when you see Dry Bone, when you look at the feed, Instagram feed, when you look at the clothes, when you come into the studio, immediately need to have a sound. And the sound that I prefer you to hear is rock and roll. So I love rock and roll, mainly because it translates beautifully in fashion.
Do you think rock and roll is a sound or it's an attitude?
That's a good question. It is a sound. Let's not get it twisted. It is a sound, right? But that sound is so strong and so potent and so energetic that you can't help but connect it to an attitude that could be outside of rock and roll.
Does but the connect the former or cancel the former for the latter?
No idea what you just said.
I'm just saying, when you say a statement,
Yeah.
and you say but, and you say another statement, are you connecting the two, or the last one cancels the first one?
You know what? In life, I've just realized that you have to live in contradiction if you want to make sense of the
Get
world.
anywhere and finish this
Live in contradiction.
conversation.
So they both must live together. Rock and roll is so strong. Rock and roll is so strong. Like saying that's gangster. Well, gangster comes from the fact that there's a group of people who have a like mind, who are very chaotic and very violent and have attitude and whatnot. You know what I
Or
mean?
have been defined to be
Exactly. So that attitude was so strong and so potent that that word was extracted from the word gangster, and you can now say that that's gangster for how someone like said something, or how someone a hostile takeover of a Fortune 500 company was gangster, you know. Yeah, because of, you know, the manner in which people do it without caring for the collateral and just doing it. So rock and roll is like that, I feel. But the core of it, it's a sound. It's a sound that can be split into different genres of the same sound, for folk rock, punk rock, hard rock, alternative rock, indie rock. So yeah, so it is a sound in a sense. But you can find yourself in that sound. Some people are more indie, some people are more hard rock, some people are more punk, some people are more even country rock, you know. And what's brilliant about that is each of those subsects of rock have a look too, but it's still rock. So you know what I mean? So I can like pick and choose, okay, what's going on this season? What's everyone doing? Okay, that looks a bit like that kind of rock can fit with that. And then I can take that indie rock and then make my things more bohemic, make my things more tie-dye or whatever, you know what I mean? And tassels and whatnot. And if things are getting a bit too hard and too straight edge, I can like say, okay, that looks a bit more punk rock, you know, and then no, hard rock. Think punk rock as doodling on your clothes and just ripping everywhere, and you know, then think hard rock as studs everywhere, you know, spikes. I don't know. That's how I kind of separate it. So, and I'm a black guy, and it's like a whitewashed genre, you know. So that's a bit weird for people. But that's fine, because that also spurs me to...
But it was a genre also that was taken from black.
Exactly. So that spurs me to actually teach the history of the music through my clothes, so that you can understand my place in it and why I feel connected to it, because it's actually guitar-led music. Guitar-led music was blues was actually heavily influenced by black culture. And then blues became more harder, and it actually called heavy blues before it was called rock and roll. So heavy blues, which was adopted by people like Elvis Presley, who actually brought it into the acceptable mainstream culture. Look at Elvis Presley. First white guy to move like a black guy. First white guy to sing like a black guy. First white guy to be flamboyant and dress like a black guy. So that was all appropriated from the predominant underground club black scene back then, which was made sort of more acceptable by Elvis Presley coming into the scene and popularizing it. So that's musically. Stylistically, still you can connect it to African culture, to primitive African culture.
And then your positioning and the clothes that you make, it actually produced a partnership with Afropunk. You
Yes.
were the first to make an apparel line for them?
Yeah, a full collection with them. I've designed a full collection with Afropunk. They found me, you know.
Mind your own business at Neighbor Goods Market.
Yeah, they found me and they're like, oh my God, this is the guy that we've had in our mind while we're creating this organization. A black dude in a cultural genre that is not predominantly black, but he loves it so much, like this black kid in punk. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think it made it more special that they found you in Johannesburg as opposed to America? When it was in America, maybe
I think it made it even more like, what is happening
in Africa?
Here? Yeah, you know what I mean? You know, so, and then worse, there's a black, actually they were shopping my collection, not knowing who I was, bought a whole lot of stuff. And I only found out that this is actually a black guy who makes, what? You know, so there was like
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So they found out, and then I think it took about another year for us to get connected. And then we collaborated on a collection. We launched a collection at SA Fashion Week, which was really a good experience. It was like the meeting of the minds. Oh my God, where have you been all your life? Oh my God, where have you been all my life? You know, like when we just met and we did a collection that was true to, it actually helped me to get back to who I am and why I'm doing this, because it was like the meeting of both Afro and punk. You know, the original rocker, the original punk, the imagery, black native Africans with extensive piercings, with extensive tattooing, ridiculously elaborate hairstyles. That's the ultimate symbol of punk.
The body modification,
exactly, in its
visual
original state. All right, and then with Western dress, what do you get? You get a punk kid. So it was beautiful to like kind of portray that message.
And how involved were they in their creative process in coming up with this line?
It was very weird because they're very trusting of me.
They just let you go do your thing.
They're just trusting of me. They literally came like a week before the show when the collection was done.
Oh, so there was no back and forth approving of sketches?
There was a bit of approving of looks, not the actual design, just looks that we'll go for, looks we won't go for. You know, curating and not styling, but creating the looks that they want on the runway.
Because also you need to make it sellable.
Yeah.
And how long is this partnership? Or is it just ad hoc?
Yeah, it was just like a one-shot deal. You know, it was just a one-shot deal. Make a collection, retail a collection, make a collection for the runway, make a spin-off of that collection for retail at the festivals around the world that they hold. And then, yeah, that's it.
Did you make lots of money from this?
I didn't make lots of money.
But it was a good investment.
It was a good partnership and good investment in the sense of
history books.
Yeah, you know, just I've done that. I've been in partnership with Afropunk and I've had a range with them, and it looks good on my CV. I did get compensation for my time, yes. But in fashion, if you want something to like the monetary value to be realized, you need to push it 2-3 seasons, and then maybe the third season, that's when it catches on fire, and then like you cash out.
Is there anything that, in hindsight, is there anything that you would have done differently?
A lot. I mean, like I'm a fashion designer. I mean, like this, you're always not happy with what you put out.
From the design aspect and the business partnership deal.
With Afropunk?
Yeah.
I probably would have asked,
or maybe I should rephrase, like, what were some of the lessons that you learned from this partnership?
I think one of the biggest lessons is discussing the long-term implications of the collection, and sort of like working out a deal to make sure that the intellectual property that you are giving to Afropunk can be spun off 2 or 3 seasons after the fact, so that you can get the full monetary value of the work that you did. So I'll probably do that different, and not force, but ask for the partnership to stretch out a bit more so that we can monetize it properly. I think that's what I would have done. Might I add that after the Afropunk collection, 2 or 3 months after then, dissolved into Zionist. So that arrangement dissolved too with Afropunk. Yeah.
So they were not like sunset clause.
No. So that dissolved. So, but I've since continued working with them as Drybone, as an individual entity. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you know for sure?
Zion, stop it.
Do you know that Zion must stop it?
What I know for sure. What I know for sure, is that Jesus loves me. That one I can take to the bank.
How do you find Jesus?
How do you find Jesus?
How do you define? Sorry.
Oh, how do you define?
I my words there. How do you define Jesus for yourself?
Zion, I'm going to smack you.
Are you buying time by every time I ask you a question? Then you
I know what he's going to do.
Zion.
There's a dog outside. Zion, come.
Zion is Oscar's gorgeous dog. What kind of dog is this? What breed
The
is it?
Pekingese,
Okay.
Chinese breed. How do I define? Right?
How do you define Jesus for yourself?
How do I define Jesus? Okay, Jesus is God. First of all, get that straight. Jesus is God. Jesus is part of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. He's the Son. Jesus is the only way to heaven. That's just my truth. He's the only way to heaven. Jesus is my Father, my brother, my everything. I know that's sort of like an all-encompassing definition. How do I define Jesus? Jesus is everything.
And heaven? Do you think heaven is a place, like we were told as kids?
Heaven is definitely. Don't mean to get all theological on it, but heaven is a place, right? But heaven is different from paradise.
Oh, also there was paradise.
Yeah.
I remember. Paradise just evokes beautiful images in my head.
I know. And paradise, I'm sure, look so much like Earth because.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sure there's paradise on Earth.
Just a better version. Just a
Yeah.
better version of Earth.
What? The afterlife paradise is a better version of
Earth
right now.
Yeah, it's just a better version.
But I feel like I also get a sense of like just me being here speaking to you, I'm in paradise. There's also that sense of ease of like, I'm fine right now at this moment in time.
You're fine.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fabulous. It's good.
That's a what is it? Utopia. A state of utopia that you do come in and out of it.
True.
But we're talking like constant. And
if you're not coming out of it, you wouldn't know that you're in it. And if you're not in it, you wouldn't know that you're out of it.
But imagine if that just was just like constant and forever and just like.
But I think it's that thing when they say that there's no. I'm obviously gonna paraphrase somebody. It's all this shit that I've heard from other people, and me by saying shit, I'm not saying like in a bit. It's like all these things that I heard from other people that also has an influence on me. That there's no past or future. There's only the moment. It's only right now.
Yeah.
Everything happens right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very profound. There's only now.
There's only now.
That's a beautiful. I mean, if you could live in that state, you've won. I feel like you've won. If you could live in the state, because what ruins now is the baggage of the past and the anxiety of the future, and then just it ruins now. So that's a beautiful way to live. Now is all that counts.
Yeah. What do you know now that you didn't know then that you wish somebody told you? That there's no past, there's no future, there's only now.
What do I know now that I didn't know before?
That you wish somebody told you.
I wish somebody had told me that. I wish somebody had told me that life is long, and I'm still young, and even if I fail, even if, for example, if I'm 34 now, even if I fail for the next 5 years, next 10 years, I'm still young enough to make something of my life. So I've always been like hard on myself, like at 20, oh my God, I need to making these decisions that like feel like life and death all the time. Do you know what I mean? And I still look back then and I still feel as young as I was back then. And I just feel like if you just chill and relax. Someone had told me that because I recently started listening to a guy who was always pushing, it's a motivational speaker, who's always pushing of you are young. You're still, at 50, you're still young. And you could still have a 40, 30-year career of success. So, I don't know, there's always this pressure to have figured it out and have money and financially secure. at 30, 35, like, but why? Do you know what I mean? I still got my life ahead of me. If I live another 40, 50 years, even if 20 of that is financially successful, that's good. So, patience. I would have told my younger self to be patient. Patience is key.
Yeah. And cultural radar, what do you think is moving the needle right now?
Cultural radar. What's moving the needle? I feel like it's redefining or not defining gender. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Redefining or not defining gender. I think that's the next cultural shift that's started. Which will liberate even people like me, because at the end of the day, I'm not a man's man. You know what I mean? But there's like that image of like a man's man, you know, I'm not a handyman, you know.
It's what Marlboro used to
I'm not
sell
a
cigarettes back then.
I'm not going to change your tire. I can't change your tire. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to do that stuff. Like, I'm not. You know, I don't care.
You'll get somebody to do it.
I don't care. But, you know, that's not like being a man, you know. And then if a woman was with me and they'll be like, why can't you change my tire? I'm like, I don't change tires. You change the tire. I'm gonna get my hands dirty and everything, you know. You know, so like just and I think that helps not to, and even that conversation helps for it to be okay for there to be stay-at-home dads, you know, because I feel like if I wasn't driven creatively and an entrepreneur, I think I would make a great stay-at-home dad, because I feel like nobody can take care of my kids better than I can. Like when I see people taking care of my kids, I'm like, they're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I can do it better myself, and I do it way better, and they enjoy more with me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they would have enjoyed more or been better human beings if I was the caregiver.
And for those who don't know, Oscar is married with a wife and 3 beautiful daughters.
And this is not a shot to the lady. I'm talking about like the nanny, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, like, yeah. And I just feel like I'm more in touch with how they feel, and like,
yeah,
just
they are an extension of you.
Do you know what I mean? How they want.
They are you.
Like talking to them and just coming down to their level and being stupid with them at their level, and just like having a blast in that, you know, and not feeling like, oh God, I gotta like paint my nails with these kids, you know. So I feel like that kind of thing would be more acceptable. Obviously, there's the extreme of the LGBT community and transgender rights and all that kind of stuff, and there's the more extreme of that. But I just feel like that is also addressing these other issues within heterosexual communities.
There's the intersect.
Yeah.
Everything is informing the other.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you would like to add?
I'm not going to tell you about my new about the rebranding.
No. Yes. Oscar's rebranding yet again.
Yeah. I just found out that I'm a very rare personality type called an INFJ.
Okay.
Which is the rarest of the personality types. Only like 1% of the world has it. And even less percentage of men have it, so it's 0.something%.
So you did a self-diagnosis.
Because I was like, why am I this guy? Why am I like switching between, back in the days when DSTV was a thing, why am I the guy switching between Super Sport 3 and Fashion TV and some chick flick reality kind of thing? Like, why am I that guy? Like, why am I immersed in everything equally and loving everything equally, and this is so polar opposites. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so I thought it was weird, but then it turns out that I'm a subcategory that is very rare. So,
is it a mental thing? Is it a psych thing? Maybe you're a fully formed human being, well-rounded, with interest in multiple things.
Yeah.
That formates your becoming. Can you say formate your becoming?
Formates my becoming. So that personality type has made me realize that there's actually a whole community of people who are like that, and reading their stories and listening to them like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. You know? People who, like, you've got a certain level of depth to you. You've got a certain level of depth to you, but at the same time, you're very intuitive and you can sniff out a liar from a mile away, you know, and someone is bullshitting you. Like, you just have this intuition. You're very.
We all have intuition. Some people ignore it. Some people just listen to it.
This is next level kind of intuition, and you express yourself creatively. That's therapeutic for you if you're expressing yourself creatively.
What do you hate?
You hate shallow conversations. You hate shallow people.
You have a strong dislike to.
You'll never, ever be involved in a one-night stand. You. Are you defining yourself? Socializing to you seems like a chore. You'd rather be alone. You know what I mean? Like, you're philosophical, you love history, you love religion, you know, you love going deep into things. You're very interested in people in terms of like knowing their story and knowing when, like, you have really deep interest, and you hate confrontation, you love harmony. Not because you're a good person, because you feel the energy, the negative energy, so you don't want to feel that negative energy. So you go out of your way to make things okay, so that you feel okay. You know what I mean? Because you get that. Sometimes I walk in a room, and I don't even want to be in that room because the person is sad. Because now I feel sad, you know, so I'd rather leave. I guess that's why I'd rather be alone, you know. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting, huh?
It is. I have a sense of this is your first lifetime. If we all have 9 lives as human beings,
yeah,
this must be your first. So you come in with like the most purest energy.
That's interesting.
And you're not jaded. And
it sounds like you look at me like, oh my God, this guy is so not aware of what's going on.
No, because I have a thing that the people on their last life line, it's like, I'm done.
I'm just waiting to get out of here.
This is it, you know? Yeah, in any case, that's it.
Awesomeness. Wow. 9:19.
What is that?
Time.
9 minutes.
No, I'm saying time.
Oh, you said you can't do this past 9. Okay. I'm gonna buy myself chips.